And a good afternoon. Thank you so much for being with us on this Tuesday, June 15th, and payday for some. Good to have you with us. All right, right now I want to introduce to you McKay Daniels. He is the executive director of the Alliance to Protect Nevada's Jobs. And I thank you for being here this afternoon, first of all. Thank you for coming by.
No, thanks for having me, Alan.
You and I, as you mentioned, have met at a few of the First Friday events out at Stoney's that we have on the first Friday of every month out on the Boulevard. So good to have you in studio this time around. Tell us about your organization. It's brand new. You're just getting off the ground. This is one of your big first announcements that you're even existing. What is this all about?
It is our first announcement. We are sending out, officially launching tomorrow, as a matter of fact, so your listeners get a little preview. But the Alliance for Nevada to Protect Nevada Jobs is an organization that's focused on standing up for those job creators, employees, employers around the state who are putting in their blood, sweat, and tears each and every day to turn this economy around. A large part of our focus is going to be standing up for them over the coming months. Another part of our focus is going to be highlighting job-killing legislation and making sure that Nevada voters and Nevadans throughout the state are aware of it and can factor that into their voting decisions in November.
How do you plan to stand up for the workers of the state? I want to go to the legislation in a minute, so
sure.
Put that to the side for a second. But how else do you plan to stand up for the workers of the state?
Well, as you're aware, and I'd imagine every listener out there knows somebody who has lost their job, lost their home in the past year and a half or so. So job creation is number one, and we believe that the small business owners, the workers, those who know their field and know their industries need to be allowed to do what they do best, which is create jobs. Over 2/3 of the jobs created come from small businesses, and they need the freedom and flexibility to do what they do best and help turn our economy around.
And they can't do that right now? We're talking about entrepreneurs, people like that?
Correct. They are facing incredible challenges right now, and unfortunately, as you touched on, there's legislation out there that would make that task even more difficult. The Employee Free Choice Act, or as it should be more accurately called, the Employee Forced Choice Act, because it does nothing to promote freedom and actually reduces it at every step of the way, would be a job killer in our state at a time when we cannot afford it at all.
Okay, why will it be a job killer? We'll talk about the act and what it does,
sure,
and the fascist tactics behind it in a moment, but tell us about why it would be a job killer.
There are a number of dangerous and deadly components in the legislation. First is it would destroy jobs by taking the freedom and flexibility away from those who know their industry. I don't know the radio industry. I wouldn't begin to dictate to you what staffing levels should be, what job duties should be, and unfortunately the legislation in Congress would allow a federal bureaucrat to do exactly that. It would take away an employer's ability to adapt to market conditions. It would take away an employee's right to have a secret ballot, and increase labor costs, increase burdens and hoops and bureaucracy at a time when we can't afford it. With 14% unemployment, we simply can't afford it.
Let's be very specific, okay? Because what it would do, it would take away the concept of a free ballot. First of all, a secret ballot, which is what we are used to in this country. When you go to vote, like we did a week ago in a primary, you go into a very private area. No one sees how you vote.
Right.
And this would take away the right to, and when it comes to unions and in jobs, to be able to vote in private. And two, if I'm not mistaken, it would allow the union to almost come into your work with a couple of goons, and they would ask you, how are you going to sign this card to become part of the union? And if you do, that's great, and if not, that's great, but now everyone around knows that you are the anti-union guy, and all of a sudden your car gets keyed, your house gets, problems out there. I mean, there are all kinds of things that do happen.
Right.
Union goons can be rough.
And not just come to your place of work, but come to your home. You could be at home with your family on a Sunday afternoon, just got done watching a ball game, having a barbecue with your neighbors, and two gentlemen knock on the door and say, person X and person Y at your office has signed this, you need to sign it too. And the intimidation that this opens up is astounding.
Now, when I say union goons, let me just be very, very, very clear. I absolutely do support the right of employees to be able to vote in private whether they want to belong to a union. And if the majority of people in a given industry or given building or given work area decide that they want to be unionized, I think they should be allowed to be unionized. Everything is done on the up and up, and they voted in secret. I have no problem with that at all, okay? Even though I'm not crazy about unions. If this is what the workers want and it's done right and they voted in private, I have no problem at all. But if it's intimidated, if it's forced upon the employees and in effect wind up being enforced on the employers, that works against the employment of all these people.
Exactly. Taking away a person's right to a secret ballot is simply un-American. And another key component of this legislation is the fact that, and you touched on it a little bit, is the fact that employers, if they don't accept the employee's contract within the first 90 days that it's presented to them, a bureaucrat from Washington, D.C. comes in and says, these are the terms of the contract. Business owner, you're going to have to live with it, and employees, you're going to have to live with it.
See, without even a vote of the employees, it can still be forced upon the employer.
Exactly.
Which could wind up in the termination of some of the employees because the employer may not be able to afford all these people.
Right. If these and this isn't McKay talking, these are business owners who we've been working on this issue for some time, and businesses are barely making it today. If they have these new restrictions crammed down onto them, we'll see job loss like we haven't seen before.
We're talking with McKay Daniels. He's the executive director of the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs, and we're going to find out in a moment who supports the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs. A lot of people out there supporting him, and we'll get back to him and perhaps your calls at 733 KXNT coming up in just a moment here at News Radio 840 KXNT. I'm Alan Stock. And 98 degrees right here at KXNT, and a good afternoon to you. I'm Alan Stock, and I want to thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday, the 15th day of June. In the studio with me right now is McKay Daniels, Executive Director of the Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs. Danny Tarkanian joining us in about 30 minutes in studio. McKay, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate it much. And Alliance to Protect Nevada Jobs, you're announcing it today.
Yep.
The big announcement, you're announcing on this show that you're being created and you're here in Nevada to protect Nevada's jobs. What kind of organizations have you already garnered support from?
This is a project that's been underway for some time. We've been working with a number of Nevada businesses throughout the state and business associations, people who also stand up for Nevada employers and workers throughout the southern Nevada and all of the state. The Retail Association of Nevada, the Nevada Association of Independent Businesses, NFIB, and the Nevada chapter of it. The number of chambers of commerce are also supporters of our organization. They recognize that this is an important issue. They recognize that this is job-killing legislation, and that we need to do everything we can to make sure that it doesn't pass and dies a swift death.
All right, we're talking about card check in particular, which is the forced signing of cards by employees in front of other employees, and if you don't, then everyone knows that you're the guy that didn't sign that card, and so they look at you.
Well, and I think it's important to clarify that card check is just one devilish component of this horrific bill.
Good, that's what I want to get into.
And the Employee Forced Choice Act isn't just a job killer. This is a serial killer. It would studies have shown that if it were enacted the following year, 1.5 million jobs would be eliminated or lost. And
how would it eliminate these particular jobs, this legislation?
By going and reducing the flexibility of a worker or employer to manage their business, and by increasing costs and increasing regulations at a time when many businesses are barely keeping their doors open. We've got record foreclosures, record bankruptcies, record job loss here in Nevada already. This could truly be the straw that breaks our economic back.
How specifically would it prevent employers from running the business on their own?
If the employer is presented with a contract and is in negotiations with the union, and those negotiations go past 90 days, which would be the time limit imposed, a federal bureaucrat would come in and dictate to the employer, this is how your business is going to run from a labor perspective. They would dictate the number of hours that an employee could work, what they're allowed to do. It takes the flexibility away from an employer, and that results in reduced flexibility, results in increased job loss.